Hello, Joe. Thank you ever so much for taking the time out on such a lovely afternoon to spend a little bit of time on our business owner spotlight today. We're really looking forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Looking forward to chatting.
Good, great. Well, let's start by finding out a little bit about your business and a little bit about how long you've been in business for yourself.
Yeah, well, I sort of run the Yorkshire Jigsaw store, which we set up about 9 years ago. Sort of comes on the back of our family business, which is traditionally news agents around North Yorkshire. Okay. We had an opportunity with our gift shop to try and sort of bring a new line in. So we went down the Jigsaw route. Mainly it was to bring people into the store, but obviously online has rolled on from there and taken over to a point where we've closed the store and actually, yeah, it's all online now, the Jigsaw store.
Okay, right. So you're one of those that have gone from a bricks and mortar back to online. What made you make that decision?
Well, we had 2 stores in the town, so we've actually moved part of the Jigsaw store into our other store. So we still have a presence, but obviously it made sense to reduce the costs. And we found that actually 95% of it was online and it was growing. Obviously open 24/7 and it's global. So obviously we sort of got an overseas market as well as the UK market. Fascinating.
So the scenario of, and if it be the Yorkshire Jigsaw company, that's kind of gone in all sorts of geographical directions, I would imagine.
Yes, yeah. We sort of we started slowly, and yeah, we sort of delivered probably to 30+ countries a year, regular customers from abroad. So yeah, I mean that's a small part of it. Is still predominantly UK based, but yeah, it's nice extra.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I'm sure there'll be people on here who watch this who maybe have that thought in the back of their mind about moving from a bricks and mortar store to online. Tell us about some of the things that were really important to you to make that decision, and maybe some of the fears that you had at the time.
I think obviously the biggest one is cash flow and turnover. Fortunately for us, we were one of the lucky businesses from the pandemic where the product we had went through the roof really overnight. We'd been working to scale the business, and we sort of had a 5-year plan to move into warehouse and take it more online. That fast forwarded very quickly over 6 months, and within 18 months we were in the warehouse. So that sort of took a lot of the pressure off really, and it gave us the sort of facility to move quicker than we sort of were expecting, and also gave us a customer base, which obviously is fantastic going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I did wonder whether it was a pandemic-based decision, and you, as I say, you're one of those businesses that managed to see it take it off. How's it changed you as a business owner then? What sort of things have you had to or what sort of things have you had to do differently with a slightly different operation?
I think the biggest one is delegate. I was one of these people that tended to do a lot of things myself or try and do everything myself. And yeah, the pandemic brought a point where I just had to get rid of a lot of stuff to other people. And I wish I'd learned that sooner, to be honest. It's made my life a lot better.
Yeah, I bet. So give us an idea of working life for you pre-pandemic, and then let's have a chat about it now.
Yeah, so we were sort of running 3 stores pre-pandemic, and sort of obviously we've just gone down to 1 store now in the warehouse. I was working significant hours. The online was growing over the years. I was doing a lot of that on weekends and evenings, and you know, sort of added on to the normal day job as you do, because obviously it was a growing thing. And the pandemic has sort of pushed that on to being a business of its own right, really, the online side of it, and it sort of enabled me to sort of, you know, some of my staff that have been with me for a long time on the newsagent side have moved over to the Jigsaw side, and nice. I'm very fortunate to have a really good manager, and he's taken a lot of the website development and logistical side of it all, really. So he runs the warehouse and quite a lot of the website. So yeah, which gives me a lot more time for strategic things, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely, and again, to give people watching the sort of vision of what those post-pandemic and you know, the changes you've had to make and been forced to make, and what that means going forward. Tell us a little bit about what plans you've now got in place and what you're working on to create a different future than maybe you
yeah, I think we're sort of in that stage after the pandemic where everything's sort of settling down now into a normal routine. It's only really been the last few months that it sort of has got to that point, from a point of supply chains and and sort of the numbers as well on the website settling down to a more normal level, and sort of a yearly cycle. Before the pandemic, we used to do sort of majority of the business in the back end of the year. The pandemic, we were doing the same every month, so it was completely distorted. So really, at the moment, we're just taking stock. We're reviewing all the processes again, sort of looking at ways that we can take things forward. Really, things like Google Ads, the socials, the SEOs, just having a complete review of everything really now. We've got a bit more time to sort of step back and look at it, because we're in a different position to where we started it. Yeah,
of course. And that taking a step back and being able to consolidate and review and really move forward probably gives you it's probably a great timing for it, really, isn't it, to then think about what the next stage is. And have you got any sort of goals or things set in the future as to what the business might look like in a few years' time, or are we still in that consolidation period?
I think we're still in a bit of a consolidation state, but also we are looking towards the future. We've obviously taken on the warehouse for a period of time, and I'm sort of not near retirement age yet, so we're looking at the next 10-year period really, and obviously going to try and grow that, but possibly add other elements either into the business or possibly set up another business as well, because really we've got the facility to pack and post and do all the online. Doesn't really matter which product it is. We've got all the processes set up and in place now, so we've actually got capacity to sort of grow on that side, whether it's with Jigsaws or whether it's another product.
So as you say, the process of being in place gives you a real choice really about where the next step is, I suppose, doesn't it? That's great. So again, what would be really useful to share with people watching this, and it's been interesting to hear the stories through pandemics and through the pandemic, and we have heard a lot. What would be really interesting to understand is what have you learned about yourself kind of before as a business owner through the pandemic, and what have you learned about yourself now in terms of how you see business and what that might hold for the future?
I think probably it's not take it for granted. I think that's probably what a lot of people have learned from the pandemic. It was almost overnight, wasn't it? We obviously closed the newsagents for a period of time, which added pressures, but the online obviously went crazy. But it was a balancing act between having sort of members of the staff on one site and not the other. So again, for me, the biggest one was learning to pass on work and get a better work-life balance, which I've fortunately got now. It's probably too skewed the wrong way before. I think being organised as well, it's a huge thing, just making sure you, rather than head down straight into it all, you just sit back actually every week and just say, right, what are the important things I need to focus on this week?
And that absolutely the great word, organised is such a great word. Tell us a little bit about how you become more organised. A couple of tips and tricks from somebody who's been in that position will be really useful for those watching, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, funny enough, it was pre-pandemic. I was working with Business Coach, and we sort of did a lot of work into the processes and sort of really the way to structure things. So for me, one of the key ones that I do now is email. I don't look at my email. I only set certain periods of the day where I'll look at it, which makes a huge difference because you've got emails coming in all the time. So I sort of do it maybe 3 times a day, morning, lunch, just before I go home. And and it really does make a big difference because you can spend a quick half an hour, deal with the really important emails, and the rest of it you can sort of triage it all and either pass it on or deal with it at a later date.
I think that's such a great tip, and I've always thought, and what I talk to clients about is email, and we all fall into the trap of thinking email is a massively important and urgent form of communication. And actually it's not. If somebody really needs to speak to you about something that's urgent and needs to be dealt with inside of that working day, they'll still pick up the phone.
I think that's a change in mindset that I had. I think that's it. And when you realise it, and then people realise that you're not going to respond within 5 minutes, and it becomes the norm for them that they know you'll respond at a certain point of the day or the following day. And it's not, like you say, if they need to get in touch, it's urgent, they can call.
And it's just such a realization, isn't it, from that, when you understand what email communication is, and it's not the be all and end all, and you don't have to sit and look at it every day, and the difference all day, should I say, and the difference is, as you've so eloquently put, Joe, is quite marked, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It frees up a lot of your time, really, because otherwise you're jumping in and out, and you're coming off other projects and other bits, and you're distracted all the time. So yeah, if you can stick to it, it's definitely worthwhile.
Yeah, definitely. And looking to then, to maybe people who are watching this who have either just gone into business or about to go into business, as somebody who's experienced quite a lot in through pandemics and all that sort of stuff. What sort of tips would you give somebody looking to go into business for themselves, from somebody who's been there and done it and really learned a lot through the process?
I think probably it's just having a key aim, a key focus of where you're looking to get to, sort of, and then try and work back from there really in a certain way. Put where you want to be or what you're aiming for. So even if it's a 5-year period, and what is the end goal, and then sort of try and break it down a little bit, because you can't do everything, and things will be bumps along the way, and you'll have to change direction and do certain things. But if you sort of got the focus and you're working towards that, and you start to see progress quite regularly as well, I think that makes a big thing. So you break it down into little chunks, and what can I do that's going to affect it? What's going to give me a good good boost or push it along a little bit, whether it's sort of social media, whether it's I don't know, marketing, whatever you're looking at really, what's going to make a difference, and try and focus on that, because you can get distracted very easily with so many different things. Yeah,
it's such good advice. That is such good advice. Of starting with the end in mind is a common way that it's looked at. So yeah, I think that's great advice. Obviously, there'll be a lot of people who know about the Yorkshire Jigsaw Company, but some maybe who don't. So anybody watching who wants to find out a little bit more about that, where can we find out more about the business?
Yeah, well, the bricks and mortar is based in the lovely town of Easingwold. Lots of nice cafes, so if you want to pop over and have a coffee and a look, that's where we're based. And our warehouse is just on the outskirts, but that's obviously not for public, it's purely an industrial site. Sure. So yeah, the website's the yorkshirejigsawstore.co.uk. Yeah, you'll find it on Google, hopefully, if we've done our job right.
Absolutely, sure we will.
So yeah, and sort of pretty much offer jigsaws for everybody.
Great. And social media, are you guys active on social media as well?
Yeah, we're on Facebook, Instagram. They're the main ones that, again,
the usual places,
specifically chosen to deal with the demographic that we're aiming at.
Absolutely.
Again, tried lots of different things, and they're the ones that work for us.
Great stuff. Well, Joe, it's been a fascinating insight into your business, and I've really love to hear a little bit about where it was pre-pandemic and then now where it is after pandemic. And I think there's some great lessons that those watching will be able to take away. So thank you very much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate that.